How's it going, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today, I'm going to be doing my review for Secret Invasion Season 1, Episode 6, which was titled Home. Of course, this being the finale, presumably series finale. I don't think this will get a second season, or at least I'm pretty sure it won't, because that would be a little stupid, especially with how things end. But a lot of people were saying that this was a bit of a disappointing ending. I'm not going to say everyone, but I did see a lot of that, kind of the online reaction on Twitter and whatnot. Some people thought this was a bit lackluster and didn't really live up to their expectations. I don't know. I mean, my expectations, to be honest, were already pretty low. Even though I've mostly enjoyed this show overall. You know, if you've been watching my weekly reviews, you'll know relatively positive, on each episode. I mean, it hasn't blown me away. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is one of the best MCU projects. But in terms of, the Disney Plus shows, it's one of the better ones, I would say. I mean, I'm not going to say, again, it's the best, probably Disney Plus show that they've made, but it's up there for me. It really is. I do think this show has its moments. And truthfully, I just respect that this show tried to do something a little bit different, at least with its tone. It was a bit more serious. Not completely serious all the way through, but it tried to be a little bit darker, just a little bit, at least in terms of some of the violence in the show and whatnot. And I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, don't get me wrong, but it's just, they tried, and I can see it a little bit. It shows a little bit that they tried to do something a little bit different, but they just couldn't quite go all the way, of course, and make this an R-rated TV show because, it's Marvel. But mostly enjoyed the show, and this finale, I would say, has its moments. I know a lot of people were kind of expecting Rhodey to suit up as War Machine, and that unfortunately didn't happen, though. I mean, if you really thought that we were going to get something like that in the finale, then I guess I'm sorry, but I never once thought that was going to happen, to be honest. But, it is what it is. So, basically in this episode, we have Fury's plan kind of come into fruition, and it's kind of revealed, I guess, in this episode, because the way episode 5 ended, we didn't exactly know what his plan was with the Harvest Vial, with, all the Avengers DNA in it, and it just seemed like he was going to take it to Gravik. It's like, what? He's probably got some tricks up his sleeve. Sure enough, he does, and it was kind of twisty. It was a little unexpected, at least to me, how they kind of went about things and certain reveals that happened in the episode, and we'll talk about that. But, yeah, Nick Fury shows up to Gravik's base, hands him the Harvest Vial with all the Avengers DNA in it, and sure enough, Gravik takes it. And before this, we actually got a really great scene with Kingsley Ben-Adir, the actor who plays Gravik, where he's kind of rubbing Fury's defeat into his face a little bit, and that was good. Solid performance, I would say. I enjoyed that scene, but my problem is that once Gravik takes the Harvest Vial and obviously gets all these powers, truly becoming a Super Skrull, we realize Fury has some powers of his own, and that it has been Gaia the whole time in this scene, and Fury's back at the hospital with Rhodey and Sonya and all those people. So, I don't know. That it is a decent twist, mainly because it's unexpected, at least to me it was. But that whole scene between Gravik and Fury felt so personal that it was kind of a disappointment in the sense that it wasn't Fury hearing what Gravik, was saying, and instead it was Gaia. But, of course, Gaia also has her personal qualms with Gravik because of what happened to Talos, so sort of, makes sense. And basically we get a really great fight, actually, between the two of them. And even though it was slightly goofy, a little over the top, felt like this was something little kids writing would come up with. Kind of two characters having all the powers of the Avengers going toe-to-toe. And quite frankly, I wouldn't even say they have the powers of just the Avengers, but of just a bunch of other MCU characters. Valkyrie, I'm pretty sure one of them had Korg's powers, which was weird. And obviously Drax, we saw that. And the Abomination, just a bunch of random MCU characters, which it was cool. But that was kind of the big spectacle moment of the finale. That is kind of what we were building towards this whole time. Wow, they have all the powers of the Avengers going after each other. And, there's been a lot of talk about this show, and I've pretty much talked about this every review I feel like I've made for the show, where some people wanted this to be a bit larger scale, similar to the comics. Again, I've never read the comics, but I know, obviously, the Avengers and a bunch of other superheroes are involved in this story. But it wouldn't necessarily be a secret invasion if all the Avengers kind of knew what was going on about this with the Skrulls, would it now? That's always kind of been my justification of things, but then it's almost like, then what was the point of this show? I don't know. But I still liked the fight sequence. Like, it was pretty damn entertaining in my opinion. I genuinely think that. But it was just, I do feel like, oh, this is something little kids would come up with. Just like, oh, they have all the powers of the Avengers and they're going to fight each other. It's like, all right. But anyway, long story short, Gravik dies. Gaia freaking kills him, which is satisfying. And my overall thoughts on Gravik, he's a really solid villain, actually, really solid antagonist. And I think he was pretty menacing all throughout. I liked his character. I honestly wouldn't have been mad if they kept him alive and we actually saw more of him in the MCU later on. I think that would have been kind of interesting, but I mean, maybe he's somehow still alive, but I doubt it. Blew a hole through his chest, but of course, this is Marvel. This is the MCU. Anyone can come back, let's be real. But I am pretty sure Gravik's dead. And he's done some bad things, of course, and I wasn't rooting for him or anything, of course not. It's just, he still was a solid villain, in my opinion. But anyway, back at the hospital, Fury reveals to President Ritson that Rhodey is in fact a Skrull, and it's probably not been that long that he's been kind of, that Rava, I think that is the name of the Skrull, or something similar to that, has taken over as the way Rhodey looks, of course, shapeshifts into him. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. I know a lot of people were saying, like, oh, Rhodey could have been a Skrull, since they recast him in between Iron Man and Iron Man 2, which is hilarious. I think that's why he looks different. I've heard a lot of people mention that. That's hilarious. But yeah, no, I don't think Rhodey's been a Skrull for that long. And we see Gaia towards the end of this episode, after the fight with Gravik, kind of reawaken all the people in the pods. And we see the real Rhodey and the real Agent Ross as well, which was pretty cool to see because we saw Agent Ross at the beginning of this series in the first episode. And that was a pretty shocking reveal right off the bat that he was a Skrull. And it's like, nope, they're still the real version of these characters. They were just in the pods. And I think that'll be something interesting to tackle maybe in like Armor Wars when we get that kind of movie about Rhodey. At least, yeah, Rhodey's got to be in that movie, right? I think so. I'm pretty sure he's going to be like the main character in that movie. And I would like to see kind of Rhodey, deal with the aftermath of this situation and kind of, his image is probably going to be grossly askewed, in society, and because someone has been, pretending to be him, so to speak. And I think that could be something that could be interesting to tackle in Armor Wars. And I'm just very curious to see like how this show affects the overall story of the MCU going forward. And speaking of which, guys, basically going to keep in touch with Sonya. And I love Sonya's character. Oh my God. I know a lot of people have talked about this as well. Sonya's really fantastic, actually. Olivia Colman, just great as the character, I would say, and I cannot wait to see more of her in the MCU because sure enough, we will. And thank God Gaia didn't actually die in this show, and she can continue because Emilia Clarke's also a great actress. I want to see more of her in the MCU. And Gaia, just as a character, I think she's okay, but I think they could definitely do way more with her perhaps going forward, and they will. It does seem that way. And the way the episode ends, Fury's going back up into space, as we know, because he's going to be in the Marvels, and I do think it would have been kind of interesting if they didn't really spoil that reveal that he was going to be in the Marvels, because there's some moments in here where, it would have been a bit more intense if we didn't know the fate of Nick Fury. And this whole show was, Nick Fury was, for all intents and purposes, the main character of the show. And I was like, they could have done, it was a bit of a different kind of character study for his character, actually, I feel like this whole show was. And we got a deeper insight into his character, which I actually enjoyed seeing that in this series. And I don't know, I just feel like they shouldn't have spoiled. Like, we know he's going to be fine. We know he's going to make it back up to space because he's in the Marvels. I don't know. But he kind of is able to make up with his wife as well. But she's going to kind of go with him as, her true Skrull self. And I think that was kind of beautiful. They kind of, make up, they kiss, they get onto that ship and whatever. And I think that was a nice ending, I suppose, because, Nick entered off the ship basically alone. Now he's going back with his wife. So that's, I don't know, decent way to end things, I suppose. I just did kind of ruin the suspense a little knowing that he was going to be in the Marvels, and I don't know. Did anyone else think that? Maybe it was just me. But overall, this finale was okay. Yes, it could have been better. I guess the whole show could have been better. but I'm not too upset with this, to be honest. I mean, it's all about managing expectations, to be honest. That pretty much goes for any, TV show, movie, yada, yada, yada. But not having super high expectations, because I've learned my lesson countless times with these Marvel Disney Plus shows. WandaVision crushed me. WandaVision was the start of all of this, because WandaVision really, I was expecting some crazy stuff to happen in the finale. A lot of people were. I know a lot of you guys were. And it was horrid how they ended that. And pretty much every finale for the Disney Plus shows has been kind of lackluster. So, I mean, I was just kind of, tampering my expectations. But it's all because of WandaVision that started all this, where I'm just kind of like, well, okay, there's some good moments in the WandaVision finale. Now I'm turning this into a WandaVision review. But it's just, they could have ended it way better, especially with that whole Ralph reveal. It's like, bro, okay. But yeah, I'm just rambling now. Post your thoughts and comments on this finale and your thoughts on this show as a whole now that it's over. Very curious to see what you guys have to say about it. Did it live up to your expectations, or did you think that it was just kind of dumb? I don't know. I thought it was okay. It was decent. I enjoyed many aspects of it, but it sure could have been better. But yeah, let me hear what you guys have to say. And if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Check out my Letterboxd and Twitter in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.